70 years old, and I thought I knew my family. But I was dead wrong. They weren't just lying. They were planning to ruin me, steal my money, and even declare me insane. I didn't see it coming until the phone call that changed everything. At 70, I thought I knew my family, but the last few months had planted a seed of doubt that wouldn't go away. Benjamin, my adopted son, and his siblings, Eleanor and Olivia, had been acting strangely, often whispering behind closed doors, disappearing for hours, and pretending everything was normal. I tried to brush it off, blaming myself for being paranoid, but something in the air told me this was more than ordinary family drama. It all began when small amounts started vanishing from my accounts. At first, I thought it was a bank error. Then I noticed my personal items disappearing. Jewelry, credit cards, even private letters. Things that only family could reach. I confronted them subtly, asking if anyone had taken my things. They looked at me with such practiced innocence that I almost believed them. Almost. The real turning point came the night I received a mysterious phone call. A voice, calm but urgent, introduced herself as a private investigator hired by an anonymous concerned party. "Mrs. Caldwell, I think your family is planning something very serious," she said. My heart raced. "Something serious?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Yes, fraud, manipulation, even potentially trying to have you declared mentally incompetent," she replied. I laughed at first, out loud, nervously. "That's impossible. My family would never..." But as the investigator explained what she had uncovered, secret meetings, suspicious financial activity, and a potential plan involving a known document forger named Paul Hayes, I felt the room spin. They weren't just taking my money. They were plotting to destroy my reputation and my life. I knew I had to act, but confrontation could be dangerous. So we devised a plan, subtle, clever, and public. Instead of exposing them behind closed doors, we would draw them out and make them incriminate themselves where everyone could see. I had no idea how this plan would unfold, but I felt a mix of fear and exhilaration. The truth was finally in my hands, and I was ready to wield it. Little did I know, the moment I stepped into the real estate office that Monday morning, I was about to walk into a trap, one that would reveal more betrayal than I could ever imagine. Monday arrived, and I dressed with purpose. My favorite black dress, subtle but elegant jewelry, and a calm, confident smile. I was going to a prestigious real estate office, pretending to browse luxury homes. The plan was simple: lure Benjamin, Eleanor, and Olivia into a public space and catch them in their lies. As I stepped into Richardson and Associates Realty, I was greeted by Rick, a polished and professional agent. "Mrs. Caldwell, welcome. I have 3 properties that might interest you," he said. I nodded, keeping my composure, though my pulse raced beneath the calm exterior. Each step I took was a calculated move in a larger chess game. I was just beginning. We toured the first property, a spacious penthouse overlooking the city skyline. Everything seemed normal until we reached the second home. Sprawling mansion with marble floors and antique chandeliers. That's when I heard them, voices I knew far too well, whispering at the reception. My heart skipped a beat. Benjamin, Eleanor, and Olivia were here. Dressed in their best, they spoke to another agent, claiming to have legal power over my affairs. I felt a surge of adrenaline. I approached slowly, letting my presence be known. "Hello, family," I said, my voice steady but loud enough for them to hear. They turned, faces pale and shocked. Benjamin opened his mouth, but no words came out. Eleanor's face drained of color. Olivia stepped back as if trying to disappear. Rick, sensing tension, asked politely, "Mrs. Caldwell, do you know these people?" I smiled faintly. "Yes, unfortunately I do. This is my family, or at least the people I thought were my family." Benjamin tried to assert control. "Mom, this is a misunderstanding. We can solve it quietly." I shook my head. "There is nothing left to solve at home. Your plan, your lies, and your thefts have already gone too far." The other agent was visibly uncomfortable. "Sir, without proper documentation, we cannot proceed," he said to Benjamin and Eleanor. But they fumbled, claiming their papers were almost ready. I leaned on the stair railing, calm as a storm, and said, "Oh, you mean the papers for a house you don't legally have the right to sell?" Then I pulled out my phone and prepared to expose them. Just a few taps, and recordings of their discussions about manipulating me, stealing my credit cards, and plotting to declare me mentally incompetent began playing. The office went silent. Clients and employees stared, mouths open in disbelief. Benjamin stammered. That's
illegal!
Elena shouted. But I had the upper hand. I wasn't only aware, I was prepared. And the best part? The investigator had ensured this confrontation was witnessed. My lawyers were on their way, and soon, every detail of their criminal plan would be officially documented. But the public humiliation in that office was only the beginning. Little did I know, their next move would escalate everything and involve an unexpected ally. I never saw coming. By the time my lawyers arrived, the tension in Richardson and Associates Realty was palpable. Benjamin, Eleanor, and Olivia were pale, flustered, and clearly unprepared for the exposure awaiting them. My lawyer, a tall woman with an authoritative presence, immediately began documenting the scene and explaining to the office staff the legal implications of what was unfolding. I stood quietly, observing the chaos I had orchestrated, my calm exterior masking the storm of emotion inside as my family realized the recordings and documents I had collected were irrefutable. Panic overtook them. Benjamin's voice shook. "Mom, we can fix this at home. It doesn't need to go further." I shook my head, a sad smile touching my lips. There is nothing to fix. Home is where trust and honesty exist. And you left neither behind. Eleanor tried to appeal to sympathy, tears in her eyes, but it was clear this was an act of desperation, not regret. Olivia, caught in the middle, looked frightened but silently observant, as if weighing which side she would ultimately choose after the lawyers left to formalize the documentation and ensure my family could no longer manipulate any of my affairs. I realized something crucial. Exposure alone wasn't enough. The world needed to hear the truth, not just the office staff and my lawyers. That night, in my hotel suite, I set up a live stream. The title was simple yet compelling. A grandma tells the truth about her family. In the first few minutes, only 3 viewers tuned in. I introduced myself calmly, explained my situation, and then began sharing details. Fraudulent credit cards, attempts to manipulate my mental state, and secret plans to declare me incompetent. As I played audio recordings and showed documents, viewers started to join, slowly at first, then in increasing numbers. By the 20-minute mark, there were over 500 live viewers. By the end of the hour, more than 3,000 eyes were on me. Comments flooded in, messages of support and disbelief intermingling. Then, Olivia called, her voice trembling and pleading. "Grandma, please turn off the stream. You're ruining our lives." I smiled gently, looking into the camera. "Ruining your lives? No, my dear. You've already done that to mine. The difference is, now the world sees the truth," she stammered, trying to explain herself, confessing she needed money for college and other personal problems. But the viewers, numbering in the thousands, witnessed her hesitation, the contradiction between her actions and words. I let her speak, letting the audience hear her implicit admission of complicity. It was a turning point, not just for me, but for the entire narrative. But the shocking revelations weren't over. What I didn't know was that the family's next step would backfire in a way none of us could have predicted, and it would change everything about who I thought I could trust. The following morning, my phone buzzed relentlessly. My live stream had gone viral overnight. Messages poured in from strangers sharing similar experiences, lawyers offering guidance, and social workers expressing admiration for my courage. Amid the support, one call stood out. It was Olivia. Her voice, previously full of fear and defiance, now sounded broken and fragile. "Grandma, can we talk? Just you and me?" she asked. There was a vulnerability in her tone I hadn't heard before. I agreed, but made it clear. Public place, witnesses, and recorded. Trust had to be earned again. We met in the hotel lobby cafe. Olivia arrived, eyes swollen from crying, dressed simply, completely different from the confident, vain girl I remembered. She confessed, tears streaming down her cheeks. I never wanted things to go this far. It was supposed to be a small plan, just a doctor saying you needed care. I didn't know about the rest. My heart pounded. "A small plan?" I echoed, voice steady but intense. "Do you realize how close you were to destroying my life?" She nodded, ashamed. Slowly, she revealed more. She knew about the money, the secret accounts, the house, and my pension. Her mother had been investigating for months, calling banks pretending to be me and even contacting former employers. Benjamin, she explained, had lost a fortune gambling, owed dangerous people, and pressured everyone into the scheme. Then came her own revelation. Olivia was pregnant. The father, a married man, wanted nothing to do with the situation, and she needed money to make decisions. Her eyes pleaded for understanding. I felt a wave of empathy mixed with rage. "And that's why you were willing to participate in a plan to manipulate me?" I asked. She admitted it, hesitating, trying to justify herself. Then came the final betrayal she revealed. Her parents planned to sacrifice her to save themselves. Texts, recordings, and videos she had secretly collected showed every lie, every betrayal, and every plan to shift blame onto her if the scheme failed. Her offer was unexpected. Testify against her parents. Tell the truth and help me secure justice. In exchange, she asked for guidance, help with school, help with decisions about her pregnancy, and mentorship to become a strong woman. I studied her carefully, weighing the risks. Her eyes held sincerity. Slowly, I extended my hand. "Deal," I said. "From this moment on, we are allies, and allies protect each other." She grasped my hand tightly, and in that instant, I knew the tide had turned. Together, we would confront the deception, the betrayal, and the greed that had infiltrated our family. But even with Olivia's alliance, the next steps would test both our courage and our resolve. Because when the trial began, we would realize that some secrets were far darker and more dangerous than we had ever imagined. Over the next 3 weeks, Dr. Montgomery and his team worked tirelessly. Every detail, every transaction, and every conversation was documented and verified. With Olivia as my ally, the case against Benjamin and Eleanor became airtight. I could feel the shift in energy. No longer prey, no longer the target. I was preparing to take back my life. Olivia moved in with me at the hotel to ensure she had support. During this time, we spent long hours reviewing recordings, compiling evidence, and practicing courtroom statements. She was resilient, more than I had ever imagined. Every day, she grew more confident, less like the scared teenager I had once raised. Watching her transformation reminded me of why it was worth fighting. Not just for myself, but for the next generation. Meanwhile, my former adversaries were unaware of the storm building against them. Benjamin's arrogance and Eleanor's calculated ambition would soon collide with the truth in the most public way possible. Our plan was simple. Let the law take its course, let their lies unravel in court, and let justice be served publicly, so there is no room for manipulation or deceit. On the eve of the trial, I sat in the hotel suite with Olivia, reviewing notes one last time. "Are you nervous, Grandma?" she asked, her voice soft but tinged with concern. I shook my head. "No, the truth is on our side. We are ready." The night passed in a mix of restless sleep and final preparations. Lawyers double-checked evidence, witnesses confirmed statements, and I rehearsed my testimony, knowing that every word I spoke could change everything. The morning of the trial arrived. The courthouse steps were crowded with journalists, cameras, and a surprising number of older people who had been inspired by my live stream. Their presence was a silent show of solidarity, a reminder that we were not alone in this fight. I felt a mixture of pride and resolve as I stepped out. Dressed in my finest black suit with Olivia by my side, she looked determined, no longer timid, her presence a source of strength. As we entered the courtroom, I caught sight of Benjamin and Eleanor at the defense table. Their confident exteriors had crumbled. Deep lines of stress and anxiety marked their faces. The moment I realized the full impact of what we were about to do, I felt a calm focus settle over me. For years, I had been underestimated, dismissed, and manipulated. But today, the scales would finally tip. The trial began with the prosecutor presenting the evidence meticulously. Audio recordings, fraudulent credit card statements, and documented plans with the document forger were displayed. Each piece of proof added weight to the charges of conspiracy. The courtroom was silent as Olivia took her seat on the witness stand. Every eye was on her, the jury, the judge, the spectators, and I felt a swell of pride. My granddaughter, once timid and uncertain, was now confident and resolute. She had become a beacon of truth in the midst of a storm. The prosecutor began. "Miss Caldwell, can you describe what you witnessed regarding your parents' actions toward your grandmother?" Olivia took a deep breath. "Yes," she said clearly. "I heard my parents planning to convince my grandmother she was mentally unfit. They wanted her money and property. They even discussed paying someone to forge medical documents and a fake will," gasps echoed through the courtroom. The defense attorney, A sharply dressed man with a cold expression stepped forward. "Objection," he snapped. "This is hearsay and slander. The witness is being manipulated." The judge, a stern but fair woman, shook her head. "Overruled. Proceed," Olivia continued, describing every conversation, every fraudulent plan, and every deceitful act. She even produced text messages and recordings that corroborated her story. With each revelation, Benjamin and Eleanor's confidence cracked. Benjamin's jaw tightened and Eleanor fidgeted, avoiding eye contact with the jury. It was clear that their carefully constructed facade was unraveling. Then came the moment that shocked the courtroom. Olivia revealed the secret about the document forger, Paul Hayes, and how he was working with the FBI. "The FBI is already aware of my parents' plans," she stated firmly. The jury shifted, intrigued. Whispers rippled across the courtroom. Benjamin's face turned ashen. Eleanor's fingers trembled as she gripped the edge of the defense table. When it was my turn to testify, I walked to the stand with calm determination. The prosecutor asked, "Mrs. Caldwell, how did discovering your family's actions make you feel?" I looked around the courtroom, meeting the eyes of the jury. "I felt betrayed," I said, my voice steady. "They made me question every act of love I thought we shared. But now I feel liberated. I am free from manipulation, free from deceit, and free to reclaim my life." The defense tried to paint me as vengeful, suggesting I was exaggerating the situation. "Isn't it true you have millions your family didn't know about?" one lawyer asked. "Yes," I replied. "But that does not justify theft, conspiracy, or attempts to destroy me emotionally. No amount of wealth excuses betrayal." By the end of the day, it was clear that the truth had prevailed in the courtroom. Olivia had been courageous beyond her years, and our preparation had made the case undeniable. Yet I knew this was not the end. Benjamin and Eleanor were desperate, and desperate people often take unpredictable risks. Little did I know, that very night a new twist would emerge, one that could turn the trial upside down and put everything wait for at risk. That night, after returning to my hotel suite, I thought the hardest part of this ordeal was over. Olivia and I sat in the living area, reviewing the documents one last time, double-checking the evidence we would use in court tomorrow. I poured us both a cup of tea, trying to calm the nervous energy that lingered in the room. But peace, it seemed, was temporary. At around 10 p.m., my phone rang. The caller ID showed Benjamin's number. I hesitated, debating whether to answer. But curiosity and a lingering sense of control pulled me to pick up. "Hello?" I said, keeping my voice calm. "Martha, listen to me." Benjamin's voice trembled, a mix of panic and anger. "You think you've won, but you have no idea what's coming. We found a way to turn this around." I raised an eyebrow. "Oh, and what might that be?" I asked, carefully keeping my tone even. "There are people, powerful people, who could challenge your claims in court. Evidence, witnesses, people who can make your case look fabricated," he threatened. I paused, weighing his words. It was a classic intimidation tactic, but I could feel a flicker of concern. Then a quiet, confident thought crossed my mind. We had prepared for everything, or so I thought. "Benjamin," I replied softly, "if you attempt to manipulate or fabricate anything at this point, it will only prove everything I've said. Every fraud, every plan, every betrayal, it's documented." He fell silent for a moment. Then his voice grew cold. "You'll regret this. You and Olivia. You'll see." He hung up abruptly. I set the phone down, feeling a chill creep up my spine. This was the first time I sensed that our enemies were growing desperate and might try something completely unpredictable. My mind raced. Had they planned for a last-minute forgery? Could they attempt to intimidate our witnesses or manipulate the jury? Olivia, noticing the tension, placed her hand on mine. "Grandma, are you okay?" she asked. Her eyes reflected a maturity far beyond her years. "We have everything documented. Every word, every message, every recording. They can't escape the truth." I nodded, taking comfort in her words, but I couldn't shake the unease. I realized that the coming days would test us not only legally, but also emotionally. Desperate people often cross lines they never imagined, and Benjamin and Eleanor had already proven how far they were willing to go, determined to stay ahead. I spent the rest of the night reviewing the evidence, preparing Olivia for any unexpected questions, and making sure our witnesses were ready. By dawn, a sense of readiness replaced the tension. Little did I know, the next day in court would bring a revelation so shocking, it could change the entire trajectory of our case. and reveal acret no one expected. The next morning, Olivia and I arrived at the courthouse earlier than scheduled. The air was thick with anticipation. Journalists and supporters had already begun gathering, their cameras and notepads ready. Every step I took toward the courthouse felt heavier than the last. This trial was no longer just about justice. It was about survival, dignity, and reclaiming control of my life. As we entered the courtroom, Benjamin and Eleanor's expressions were guarded, almost desperate. They were dressed impeccably, but their nervous energy was palpable. The judge entered, and a hush fell over the room. The trial was about to begin. The prosecutor began presenting the evidence, starting with the fraudulent credit cards, followed by the audio recordings that detailed the plan to manipulate and control me. The room was tense, the jury silent, absorbing every word. But then, the unexpected happened. A woman stepped forward as a witness. She was an older woman, elegant and calm, someone I had never met before. "Your Honor, my name is Dr. Harriet Lawson. I am here to testify regarding Benjamin and Eleanor's actions over the past several months." My heart skipped a beat. Who was she and how did she know about them? Dr. Lawson revealed that she had been contacted anonymously a few months prior by someone warning her that Benjamin and Eleanor were engaging in fraudulent activities involving my finances. She had observed several suspicious transactions and even had proof that they had attempted to forge legal documents, which she reported to the authorities immediately. The courtroom gasped. I could see Benjamin and Eleanor visibly shaking. This witness wasn't just corroborating our evidence, she was adding an entirely new layer that I hadn't even known existed. My family's plan was more widespread than we realized, and now federal authorities were actively involved. Olivia, sitting beside me, whispered, "Grandma, this is huge." "It's all unraveling," I nodded, though I tried to stay composed. Then the real bombshell came. The prosecutor called me to the stand again to confirm the authenticity of the documents and recordings. I explained each one carefully, highlighting the meticulous planning my family had undertaken to steal from me and manipulate Olivia. The jury listened intently, some even nodding in disbelief. Finally, the prosecutor dropped the biggest revelation. Benjamin and Eleanor had attempted to enlist a notorious criminal, known for forging wills and medical documents, to expedite their scheme. But unbeknownst to them, he had already been cooperating with the FBI. Every plan they thought was secret had been monitored. The courtroom erupted with murmurs. Benjamin's face went pale. Eleanor's lips trembled. And for the first time I saw fear, a real, raw fear, replace their arrogance. Just when I thought the worst was behind me, the defense dropped a bombshell that threatened to turn everything upside down and put Olivia directly in the crossfire. The next morning, Olivia and I arrived at the courthouse earlier than scheduled. The air was thick with anticipation. Journalists and supporters had already begun gathering, their cameras and notepads ready. Every step I took toward the courthouse felt heavier than the last. This trial was no longer just about justice. It was about survival, dignity, and reclaiming control of my life. As we entered the courtroom, Benjamin and Eleanor's expressions were guarded, almost desperate. They were dressed impeccably, but their nervous energy was palpable. The judge entered, and a hush fell over the room. The trial was about to begin. The prosecutor began presenting the evidence, starting with the fraudulent credit cards, followed by the audio recordings that detailed the plan to manipulate and control me. The room was tense, the jury silent, absorbing every word. But then, the unexpected happened. A woman stepped forward as a witness. She was an older woman, elegant and calm, someone I had never met before. "Your Honor, my name is Dr. Harriet Lawson. I am here to testify regarding Benjamin and Eleanor's actions over the past several months." My heart skipped a beat. Who was she and how did she know about them? Dr. Lawson revealed that she had been contacted anonymously a few months prior by someone warning her that Benjamin and Eleanor were engaging in fraudulent activities involving my finances. She had observed several suspicious transactions and even had proof that they had attempted to forge legal documents, which she reported to the authorities immediately. The courtroom gasped. I could see Benjamin and Eleanor visibly shaking. This witness wasn't just corroborating our evidence, she was adding an entirely new layer that I hadn't even known existed. My family's plan was more widespread than we realized, and now federal authorities were actively involved. Olivia, sitting beside me, whispered, "Grandma, this is huge." "It's all unraveling," I nodded, though I tried to stay composed. Then the real bombshell came. The prosecutor called me to the stand again to confirm the authenticity of the documents and recordings. I explained each one carefully, highlighting the meticulous planning my family had undertaken to steal from me and manipulate Olivia. The jury listened intently, some even nodding in disbelief. Finally, the prosecutor dropped the biggest revelation. Benjamin and Eleanor had attempted to enlist a notorious criminal, known for forging wills and medical documents, to expedite their scheme. But unbeknownst to them, he had already been cooperating with the FBI. Every plan they thought was secret had been monitored. The courtroom erupted with murmurs. Benjamin's face went pale. Eleanor's lips trembled. And for the first time I saw fear, a real, raw fear, replace their arrogance. Just when I thought the worst was behind me, the defense dropped a bombshell that threatened to turn everything upside down and put Olivia directly in the crossfire. The courtroom fell silent as the defense attorney rose, his expression smug. "Your Honor, before we proceed further," he began, "we have evidence that may alter the context of these claims." My stomach sank. Every nerve in my body tensed. What new trick were they trying to pull? He called Olivia to the stand. My heart raced. This was my granddaughter, my ally, and they were trying to turn her into a weapon against me. "Miss Caldwell," the attorney said sharply, "isn't it true that you were promised financial support in exchange for your testimony today?" Olivia's eyes widened slightly, but she didn't falter. "I was promised guidance and support, not money," she replied firmly. "I am here because I witnessed crimes against my grandmother. That is why I am testifying." The defense tried to push further, implying that she had been coerced and that she was manipulating the court with fabricated stories. But Olivia remained steadfast, her voice clear and unwavering. The attorney then introduced what he claimed were private messages and emails between Olivia and me, suggesting that we had coordinated to fabricate evidence. The room held its collective breath as he presented the messages. My pulse quickened. But then Olivia calmly took the papers, read them aloud, and revealed their manipulation. These messages were selectively edited to mislead the court. "They don't represent the truth. The complete threads will show the full story." At that moment, a federal agent standing in the courtroom stepped forward, holding a set of original documents and unaltered communications that backed up everything Olivia and I had said. The defense attorney's confident smirk faltered, replaced by visible panic. The agent explained that these were part of the ongoing federal investigation, which included audio recordings, emails, and financial records that exposed Benjamin and Eleanor's entire scheme. I glanced at Olivia. Her face, though tense, radiated determination. For the first time in weeks, I felt a flicker of relief. Together, we had prepared for this moment. But seeing her hold her ground in front of a courtroom full of people was more powerful than I had imagined. The prosecutor called me back to the stand to explain the timeline of events and the financial discrepancies. Step by step, I laid out the months of manipulation, deceit, and fraud my family had committed. Every smirk, every interruption from the defense, was met with calm, precise explanations. The jury listened, riveted, as the pieces of the puzzle fell into place. Then came the unexpected twist. The defense attorney, desperate to regain control, attempted to introduce a witness, claiming to have knowledge of Olivia's personal life, hoping to discredit her testimony. But before they could proceed, the judge intervened. "This line of questioning is irrelevant and invasive. Miss Caldwell's credibility is not in question here. Proceed with the case at hand," he ruled firmly. The courtroom murmured. Benjamin and Eleanor's faces reflected sheer panic. For the first time, I saw them truly understand the consequences of their actions. Their scheme, meticulously planned for months, was unraveling in real time before the eyes of the public. Just when it seemed we had regained control, an unexpected piece of evidence appeared that threatened to expose not just my family, but a dangerous secret that could change everything and put Olivia in real danger. Just when I thought the worst was over, the judge called for a short recess. I leaned back in my chair, trying to steady my racing heart. Olivia squeezed my hand, her eyes filled with worry. "Grandma, I think they're planning something else," she whispered. I nodded, knowing she was right. After months of manipulation, These people were desperate. As the courtroom emptied, a court clerk approached me with a sealed envelope. "This just arrived," she said, placing it in my hands. The seal bore the insignia of the federal investigation. I opened it carefully, my eyes scanning the contents. My breath caught. Hidden among the documents was a report from Paul Hayes, the document forger, detailing a plan even more sinister than I had imagined. According to Hayes, Benjamin and Eleanor had been trying to secretly transfer some of my funds to offshore accounts under false identities. They were planning to make it appear as though I had mismanaged my own finances, which could have been used to question my mental competency in court. The scale of their scheme made my blood run cold. Olivia read over my shoulder. "They weren't just stealing from you, Grandma. They were trying to erase you from everything you've built." Her voice trembled, but there was a fierce resolve underneath it. "We have to show this to the judge," I said firmly. The courtroom reconvened, and I handed the envelope to the prosecutor. He examined the documents, his eyes widening in surprise. "This is crucial evidence," he said, looking at the judge. "It directly proves intent to defraud and manipulate, beyond what we've already presented." The judge nodded, allowing the evidence to be submitted into the record. Benjamin and Eleanor shifted uneasily in their seats. Their confident facades were cracking. The defense attorney attempted to object, claiming the documents were hearsay, but the judge overruled him. "This evidence is directly related to the actions of the defendants and their intent," the judge said sternly. The courtroom buzzed with tension as the envelope was officially entered into the trial record. Took a deep breath and looked at Olivia. "We're not done yet," I whispered. She nodded, gripping my hand tighter. The next witness, a former bank employee, was called to testify about suspicious transactions linked to my accounts. Every detail they revealed exposed the depth of my family's betrayal. The jury was silent, taking in each revelation. I could see the disbelief in their eyes as they realized the lengths Benjamin and Eleanor had gone to manipulate, deceive, and control my life. Even the defense attorney seemed overwhelmed, grasping at straws to find a counter-argument. But the evidence was damning. Just as I thought the court was finally on my side, a phone rang inside the courtroom. It wasn't mine. It was a message from someone claiming to have proof that could turn everything upside down. And this time, it threatened Olivia directly. The sudden ringing of the phone in the courtroom made everyone turn their heads. I could feel Olivia stiffen beside me. The bailiff quickly silenced the sound, but the tension lingered like a thick fog. My heart sank when I noticed the name on the locked screen. Unknown caller. Something told me this wasn't just a coincidence. After the recess, the judge called us back to order. Just as the prosecutor was about to proceed, a court officer handed me a folded note. The handwriting was jagged and urgent. I unfolded it carefully. My stomach twisted. It read, "If you continue to expose Benjamin and Eleanor, your granddaughter will pay the price. Think carefully, stop the trial, or she suffers." I felt the blood drain from my face. Olivia looked at me, eyes wide with panic. "Grandma, what do we do?" she whispered, her voice shaking. I held her hand tightly. "We don't back down," I said firmly. "They want to scare us, but we've faced worse, haven't we?" Her nod was hesitant, but I could see the flicker of courage returning. Alerted the court security immediately. The note was photographed, logged, and added to the evidence. The prosecutor asked if I wanted to continue with the testimony or take a pause. I glanced at Olivia. She was trembling, but I could see the trust in her eyes. "We continue," I said. "They cannot win by intimidation." The next witness was a whistleblower from my family's previous financial transactions. He confirmed that Benjamin had created shadow accounts and transferred funds under fake identities. Eleanor had knowingly approved some of these transactions. Each revelation built a picture of premeditated betrayal, but the note about Olivia lingered in my mind. A shadow over the courtroom. Olivia was called to testify again. She took a deep breath, her hands slightly shaking, but she didn't falter. "I know they've tried to manipulate us, and I know they're dangerous," she began. "But I also know the truth, and I will tell it." The jury leaned forward, captivated by her bravery. Each word she spoke reinforced the story of deception and greed that had plagued my family for decades. Benjamin's face grew red with anger. Eleanor avoided eye contact, a mask of fear replacing her usual arrogance. The defense attorney tried to intimidate Olivia, questioning her motives and her honesty, but she held her ground. Every question he posed, she answered with clarity and courage. The courtroom seemed to shift in our favor. Just when we thought the intimidation attempt was behind us, a lawyer from the defense stood abruptly. He claimed to have uncovered a hidden recording, one that could paint Olivia in a very dangerous light. My stomach dropped. Could this be the end, or had we uncovered the last trap? The courtroom fell silent. As the defense attorney dramatically played the hidden recording, heart pounded in my chest. The voice on the tape was distorted, but I recognized the words immediately. It was Benjamin and Eleanor attempting to frame Olivia for the theft of my assets. The court collectively gasped. Even the judge's eyes widened. I looked at Olivia, who clenched her fists under the table. "We've prepared for this," I whispered. Dr. Montgomery's team had anticipated such a move. They quickly presented evidence proving that the recording had been tampered with, highlighting the forgery and inconsistencies in the voice patterns. The jury watched, captivated, as the defense's plan began to unravel before their very eyes. When it was my turn to testify again, I walked confidently to the stand. My black suit, simple yet elegant, reflected the seriousness of the moment. "Your Honor, members of the jury," I began, my voice steady. "This case is not just about money. It's about trust, betrayal, and the length some people will go to exploit family. My family planned to destroy me emotionally and financially, and I have the evidence to prove it. But I also have someone who stood by me. My granddaughter, Olivia, who bravely came forward to ensure justice is served." Olivia stood up, her eyes shining with determination. She recounted her testimony one last time, emphasizing the manipulation, the secret accounts, and the threats against her. The defense tried to discredit her, but her honesty and courage left the jury visibly moved. I realized that the years of fear, secrecy, and betrayal had culminated in this single moment of truth. After hours of closing arguments, the jury finally retired to deliberate. The courtroom was tense. I squeezed Olivia's hand. "Whatever happens, I am proud of you," I whispered. She nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. 2 hours later, the jury returned. The foreperson stood and announced the verdict. Guilty on all counts, Benjamin and Eleanor were sentenced to 12 and 10 years, respectively, for conspiracy, fraud, forgery, and elder abuse. The courtroom erupted with whispers, gasps, and tears of relief. Justice had been served. 6 months later, Olivia and I were settled into a bright, peaceful home with a garden full of blooming flowers. Olivia excelled in school and embraced her passion for law, determined to help protect others from elder abuse. I spent my days traveling, writing, and helping seniors facing similar battles. For the first time, I truly felt free. As I look back, I realize that real family is built on loyalty, love, and respect, not just shared blood. Betrayal taught me the value of self-respect, courage, and the importance of protecting those we love. And now, I am living a life filled with light, love, and truth. If you were inspired by my story, make sure to subscribe for more incredible true life stories. Like this video if you believe in justice, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that courage always pays off.